Welcome everyone to the next episode of the EO Entrepreneurs Organization podcast. In this season, we have entrepreneurs from Morocco, and today we have a guest from Casablanca, Othmane Taky, who is the founder and CEO of a tech startup called eProgram. Welcome to the show, Othmane.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure having you. So tell our listeners a little bit about you. Who are you? How did you become an entrepreneur? And then after that, we can talk about your company and your business idea.
All right. So again, my name is Othmane, born and raised in Casablanca, Morocco. I've lived abroad for major time of my life. I spent around 10 years in Europe and another 7 years in the UAE, where I've worked with big corporates. I worked for Dell, Microsoft, and Oracle. And during that period, I was a geek that was forced to do sales. I was working with a lot of major companies where we were handling their IT, we were selling them licenses, we were selling them technology. And this is actually where, for the first time, I realized how important the human factor and the human talent factors is to those companies. No matter how big and how large is an enterprise, what makes its success is the talent and the human factor. And again, during that period, I also had the chance to visit a lot of countries, worked in the Middle East, worked in Sub-Saharan Africa, worked in Morocco, in Brazil, in France. Again, same thing, same realization where I realized that it's all about humans no matter what. And actually, one of the most interesting parts in my journey when I was doing corporate is realizing that a lot of talents keep moving from a company to another, keeps changing companies. And not all the time it's about money, not all the time it's about the compensation. Some of the, like a good third of the reasons why people were changing from a company to another was the corporate culture. This is what started in my mind, put that thing where I was like, there's something we can do. Tech can help here. And on my last year with Oracle, I think it was 2018, I decided to take a sabbatical. And I remember one of my really good friends, Craig, he was a South African. I went to see him and I was like, something in me, like, I want to do something else. I just don't know what. I know it has something to do with entrepreneurship, to do with tech. This thing that I had about focusing about talents. And I remember him telling me, at your age, I think, yeah. And I remember he said, I only have one question for you. He said, do you have FU money? I was like, what do you mean? It's like, do you have enough resources to go and think for yourself, to go and meet people and not have like to work for it? It happened that I had some, so I said, yeah, go and meet your future customers. Just go and pitch your ideas. Just go and travel. And I took a year off actually after that, and I went to Brazil, where I've spent a lot of time. Actually, I was backpacking somehow, and I spent a lot of time talking to people that are from complete different cultures. And I always used to ask them this question about like, when you guys are working for a company, like just asking to them what makes you move, etc. And it happened that in Brazil, one of the most important thing for a candidate when they're looking for a job, they don't only ask for the position, for the salaries, they also ask for their benefits with this company. And it was extremely important. And this is what it takes. Like, there is something I can do with that. And I traveled to the south of Brazil, where I've like went into retreat mode, took my laptop with me and started like working around here and there. And I had a couple of friends that I was exchanging ideas with, and I was like, yeah, why not do what I'm doing now? This is where I got my idea. I've coded the proof of concept in a couple of months there. And yeah, I launched from Brazil, and then from there the project started.
Okay, cool. So let us go back to the development of the idea. How was the first iteration of the idea? What was the plan?
Well, the first iteration of the idea was very simple. It was okay. I realized that, as I said, a lot of the employees, when they think about why they are with the company, they rarely talk about the salary itself. They say like if it pays well, they say it's a good company. But usually what they put up front is the quality of the job and what they get outside from that job. So it's like, I don't know, we have like free membership to gyms. We have, like that Google image where like the employee is so well taken care of. And so on my first iteration, I was like, okay, let's see what's the easiest thing I can bring to employees as a perk. Like, what is the easiest thing I could get them? And I had a friend, a very good friend, who worked for a major electronic company, who had another issue. They had like an issue of selling products to the market. And he said that if only they had a way of targeting like specific audience, people with like decent salaries and people with contracts, etc. And it just clicked. I was like, okay, what if I made a platform and you with your company, like we just buy those products from you, we negotiate with you better, and we sell to employees. Would you be up for that? And I was like, yeah, why not? It's called an employee purchase program. We do that. Go ahead. And the first iteration was literally just a marketplace, just like an e-commerce platform, where you had to be part of a company to access to it and to benefit from those products. My first customer was my previous employer, Dell. I just went to my previous employer and suggested that. It was like, okay, it's not going to change anything. Just going to be more stuff for our employees. And it started from there. And the funny story is that I remember launching in February 2019. I was in Brazil by then. I just sent an email to my first customer saying, hey, this is what we're doing. Can you just share that with your employees? They did. And I remember like going to bed thinking, if I have a couple of employees registering, I'll be happy. Woke up the morning after, we had like 100,000 dirhams, just $10,000 worth of business.
Oh,
It was like, okay, there's
something.
Yeah, there's packed my bags and came back to work.
Cool. So for our listeners, what users of the platform can do is they get access to benefits. It's sort of like a management platform for these benefits.
Okay, you mean today or what it was before?
What it was before and today.
Yeah. So in 2019, it was just a closed e-commerce platform, right? We were not even pitching the whole perks idea. We were pitching you're part of this company, you can buy stuff cheaper. That's what it was. In my back of my mind, it was always something related to perks. It's just that we didn't have enough customers or enough vendors or even enough ideas to position. And by the way, I was on my own. My sister, her husband was helping me, but I had a couple of friends from there to there. I was doing everything from coding to customer support to shipping sometimes the products, all of that. So it started that way. Now, 4 years down the line, it's basically an HR tech platform where a company outsourced their perks and benefits management to us, where we consolidate all the elements related to that, and we give to companies the ability to position perks and benefits that they cannot manage on their own because they don't have the time or the resources. And we basically make the company more appealant to employees and retain their employees better because they get so many perks with us. And for the employees, it's not even us. It's their company doing that for them. So everybody's winning.
Cool. So one question that I guess some of our listeners will have is tech startup in Morocco is not the typical place you would think of a country for a tech startup. What is like the environment in Morocco for a tech startup like yours? Are you sort of like one of the few, or are there many? What's reality on the ground?
Tech started a long time ago in Morocco. It's just that for a long time, it was the back office for major companies abroad. It's a little bit what happened with India. Very good at offshoring talents. We have very, very, very impressive tech talents in Morocco. Some of them end up working for very major companies in big institutions. What happened is that a lot of those talents, when they were doing offshoring, didn't know the value of what they were doing. They were just a cog in the whole machine. Starting 2006, 7, some people had they were very, very few, started to get out of their the comfort of offshoring, realizing that they have some talent and building products that they could ship abroad, not in Morocco. So if you had see, I'm thinking about one of the most successful startups that has done that years ago is HPS, which is a payments processing company and now is a global company. And there are many of those examples but they were mainly focusing on deep tech or on fintech. What happened is that starting 2008, 9, 10, a lot of those talents started getting influenced by what's happening in the US, what's happening in Europe, but there were very few. Until there was a investment fund, like the first investment fund that was backed by, I think, I can't remember, but it was a very large investment fund. And we heard for the first time about VC. Some people were getting funds, not big tickets, but still enough to start a company. But by then, the issue was not on founders, but more about the market itself. Moroccan market, and I'm talking customers were not ready to have relationships with local startups. It was a new thing. So it was very hard to get customers for a local startup. But
So there was not a credibility gap, or they're not used to it, or...
Yeah. And because also the local companies or the local companies were used to either work with either major brands or structured SMEs that work with major brands. So it was very rare when you would see someone decided to go with a local developed technology or even deal with a local very young company and take risks because it was considered as risky.
Yeah. So was it the case of in the developing world sort of trusting Western brands and companies because they're reliable and not trusting local grown businesses?
It was more, because I was working in major companies, I understand the logic. It was more what happens if tomorrow this company fails? And because startups are known for, majority of startups fail. So what happens if I'm putting my eggs in this basket and I end up with a hollow one? So not no one, there still was people taking that leap, but it was very, and you had also the regulation issues. Regulations were not ready for startups, which again is understandable. If you were in fintech, it was very hard for you to position a product if you're a startup. If you were doing, even e-commerce was not as popular as now, even health tech, all those, you still had very strong references, but it was hard for you to have customers. But again, I'm talking, this was 2010.
That has changed.
A lot, and it's even more interesting. Today, within the last 10 years, what happened is that you started having those trailblazers failing in their projects, coming back, regrouping between each other, and starting to influence a little bit the ecosystem. So we started having groups, ecosystems getting created. We started having successful people showing and appearing and influencing the market. And we also started having something extremely interesting, is people that were trained here in Morocco, went working abroad, coming back with a lot of experience and a lot of, a track record. So when they went meeting customers, they had a real track record to justify with, and that changed the paradigm. And we also started having that. The regulators started accepting the fact that there is something that we need to do. So Morocco created a digital ADM, which is an ADD, which is the Agency for Digital. And we have what we call a startup label that gives you access to a lot of resources and a lot of processes that are being simplified so startups can evolve. And this is an amazing project. I think it's the Ministry of Commerce, if I'm not mistaken. I don't want to say anything, but I think it's... And then we started having local VCs, major institution going into VCs. And it goes from OCP, which is the biggest company in Morocco, to Almada, which is, again, a very big conglomerate. So we started having that. And then recently what happened, and it's amazing, is that we started having international VCs come into Morocco to fund companies.
Do you also now see people who had a successful startup in the past, maybe exited that, become investors themselves?
Yeah. We have a couple of those. So like the figure of success there. I think we're starting hearing about exits. They didn't happen often, but now it's happening. We also have something amazing is that universities have started to integrate the idea of a startup in their curriculums. So you have like UMCSP, which is one of the most advanced university in Morocco, having like a program for startups and providing all the necessary resources for that. You have small VCs doing like incubations and pushing like companies and startups to move forward. We also have VCs having incubator programs, but they don't stop only at incubating. They work with startups, with the legislators. So they work with all like the influence, the regulations, etc. So this is something that didn't even exist like 4 years ago. And when I was talking about the customers part, it's starting to change. Like I myself, when I came here, I was amazed by the fact that I would go to a company and they would sit with me and like give me time, something that would never have happened like 10 years ago. So there's a trust now, there is a willing to support that. But also because we're a kingdom and the king has this idea, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, where he's spoken about how the government should help SMEs, should like bring all the support to the youth when it comes to that. He does what he says, and right now we're having so many stuff for that. Now we're having, so the ecosystem itself is it's gonna start.
Let's talk about the ecosystem that has grown. What do you have like sort of these programs that come from the US or the UK startup incubators? Do you have like associations for tech founders, or is it more like general entrepreneurship hubs? What does it look like?
So there's two different, I would say, two different ways. There's the local initiatives, right? The local initiatives are usually either major institutions, major corporates or government that will not only provide today fundings, but also support. And I'm talking like there's the 212 Founders, which is an initiative from CDG. You have smaller shops like Outliers, which is a local initiative. You have Azure, you have MNF. So we have a lot of initiatives that were taken by institutions. Those are locals. And then you have the international ones. The international ones, the last one I have in mind is Plug and Play, which is a major incubator. It's a whole program for startup, and it's a global program. We have Y Combinator that's jumped one of the deals here in Morocco. It's actually one of the biggest startups called Sherry. And then you have other international initiatives that I would say come as partners for local ones. So you know how I spoke about the universities? What they do is that they partner with international, like Endeavor, like I don't only mind, but I can share with you the list later. And those guys, what they do is that they come with the idea of Morocco is not only a market for startups, but it's also a platform to go to the Sub-Saharan Africa. Because there's also this thing, there's a big relationship today with Morocco and a lot of Sub-Saharan countries. And it became an interesting platform to start here in Morocco and then expand in other countries in the region.
And I think you also, with your company program, you have the ambition to cover the whole of Africa, is that right?
Yeah. So again, because we're lucky to be in this position where first we speak the languages, I mean the majority of the languages. In Morocco we speak French, Arabic and English, which gives us the ability to address, I think, a good 70% of the markets, of the African market. There are a lot of initiatives that started from the king himself to the local companies that have now subsidiaries in many countries like Cameroon, Gabon, Senegal, Côte d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast. So So for us, it became, we have people that opened the way for us, so we can just jump in. And then the last initiative that's changed a lot is the Casablanca Finance City, which has base here in Morocco, but has foots in those countries, or at least some companies have foots in those countries. And that opens for us the way to address those markets.
Interesting. That's cool. Okay. That's so interesting. I mean, you're opening up a whole new window into Morocco with this perspective. So with your company, did you raise VC capital or did you bootstrap from day one to today?
I bootstrapped it from the beginning. I bootstrapped it in 2019 and we raised capital in 2022 from business angels, but it was more like pre-Series A, if you want, or post-seed money, aka bridge. And we basically, what we've done is that we made sure that our company was making money. I didn't want to lose anybody else. Yeah, and it gave us the upper hand in the negotiation. My investors they love us, but they're like, you could have done, like you squeezed us, but because we had the opportunity to do that, but they're happy with what they've done. And when we raised money to accelerate, and to accelerate very far.
Just cross capital. Okay, cool. Yeah. Talking about sort of like where you came from, where now, what are your plans? So you want to expand to the whole of Africa? Do you want to go beyond Africa? What's in the cards for e-program?
So first, right now, what we've done is that the money that we raised it for two things. We raised it to prepare the company for the next steps, and we also raised the money to structure internally the company in a way where we know that we can expand and scale with the minimum friction possible. The goal is starting next year. I mean, we've already started conversations with many of our partners and customers that are already in other countries. So like I said, there's many Moroccan companies that have the base here and the foot in other countries. So this is what we've done. We started that conversation. And the goal is to follow them where they are first, because that's easy for us. We already have contracts with them. Follow our partners where they are. And ideally, what we want is to be able to say that a Moroccan company has been able to not only expand, but to add values in those countries.
So one more question for our listeners. What are the things that you would want the world, entrepreneurs around the world, to know about Morocco? What is your core message?
My core message is very straightforward. A lot of the tech you are using today, there is a Moroccan engineer or software developer or the talent that has done something in it. You just don't know because it was made based on offshoring. So we have a real pool of extremely tech-wise people and extremely advanced skills when it comes to tech. We also have the luxury actually to speak many languages. Morocco has always been a carrefour of many countries. We have Moroccan people speaking German, speaking Finnish, speaking Spanish, speaking Swedish. You can imagine how many languages we speak here. Like you can go to the mountain and have someone speaking German to you. And that's one of the exceptional things about this country, is that a lot of people know that, but the talents is here. It's usually raw talents, and you can basically create extraordinary products here. Now, the biggest issue that an entrepreneur or an investor would see will come in here is that it's like when in America, when the gold rush was like, there's a lot of people going everywhere looking for the next opportunity, but there will be some gold mines. You just have to be at the right place at the right moment. So my advice would be like, come here, meet people. You're gonna meet some extremely interesting people. Try to understand that it's a country that has always been open to the world. So maybe we know your culture before you either come. We've been watching TV, abroad TV. We've been maybe like it's very rich when it comes to culture. It's gonna be very easy to find the right people. What's gonna be hard for you is to retain them, because a lot of people are going after them. Like in Morocco, we're losing a lot of our talents to foreign companies, but there's still a lot here, and schools are basically every year we have like a whole batch of new engineers getting in the market. We just need to grab them before they go to major companies.
Cool. Thank you so much. How can people get hold of you if they're interested in your company and your service, or in you as a person?
So if it's my company, it's eprogram.ma. If it's me, it's Othmane at eprogram.ma. And I'm available on LinkedIn. I'm available on all the social media. I'd be really, really happy to, if there is anyone who has a question about how they can come to Morocco and if they want to meet or get introduced to the ecosystem, I'd be happy to help your listeners. There's a lot to do. There is a lot of opportunity, and I'll be happy to be the door for that. If I can help open the door, I'll be super happy for that.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Othmane.
You're more than welcome.
It was really an interesting insight into entrepreneurship in Morocco. Thank you.
You're welcome.